All right, Netta, thanks for jumping on board with us here. Really looking forward to unpacking your journey a little bit. But first of all, where are you calling in from? Where do you call home?
Well, actually, right now I'm in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
All right. Are you on the
Yes.
run? Is people going after you? Did you do something wrong?
No,
What's
no,
good?
no. I go back and forth between Edmonton and Las Vegas.
Oh,
So
wow.
I'm American. My homes are in Las Vegas, and I married a Canadian. So now my home is in Canada. So I go back and forth.
All right. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you jumping on board with us here and having a
Yeah.
conversation. And you're a professional speaker and you do a lot of keynotes. You've written a couple books that are
Yeah.
bestsellers. But the
Yes.
one I'm really interested in, I think my audience would be really interested in, is your talk and your book around Rise Up for You, how to become the most powerful version of you. What was the idea behind that? What was the reasoning? What problem are you looking to solve with that talk in that book?
Yeah, so honestly, I wrote the book. It's a combination of my personal story, my journey, why I started the company Rise Up For You. And then the last half is really more strategic around how we can push our potential and become our best. And the reason why I wrote the book is because for as long as I can remember, even when I was a little kid or when I was in high school, I always wanted to see my friends be successful. Like I always wanted them to be their best. I would be sitting in high school and my friend would get an F and I'm like, "Why are you getting an F? You could do it. I believe in you." So for as long as I can remember, I really had an obsession with helping people become the best version of themselves. But I learned along the way through various careers that success and becoming our best is not what we're typically taught, which is get the big job and get, 3 degrees and learn all these technical skills. That there's a lot of skills that we're never really taught that make up 80% of our success, both personally and professionally, that push us closer to our potential. And so that has been really my mission, is helping people become the best version of themselves through the skills that we often just don't address and talk about.
Yeah. Well, why is that? Why do you think we're not taught those skills? What's missing? Why is that from your perspective?
I mean, I think it's a lot of things. We can go back to, like, historically, let's say, where I would say a majority of countries are very competitive when it comes to various industries. So naturally, you focus on the skills that are going to help you be competitive and champions in those industries to get jobs, right? And to get
Mhm.
careers. And so I think for a long time, we focused on going to the university, going to the college, getting good grades and A's on the technical sides, math, science, English, history, you name it. And in that process, we lost the understanding that true success is really built from the soft skills, also known as street smarts, right? Or also known as just the interpersonal skills that actually help you, what I always say, be seen, be heard, and be relevant, especially in today's world where every single industry is inundated. Every industry is inundated. No business is unique, really, except for maybe Tesla, right? The big monsters of the world. And so the question is now how do you stand out? Right?
Mhm.
The majority of the people have a degree. The majority of the people have graduated high school. Some even have master's degrees and PhDs. That doesn't hold as much weight. And so the question is, how do you continue to push your potential as a whole person, not just professionally? And what are the skills that are going to do that?
Yeah. And what would you say, what would be those skills that you think that the street smarts, if you will, that you think every person needs to have in their toolkit if they really want to separate themselves?
Yeah. So in our company, we have something called the Rise Power Up method. It's something that I founded and that I created, that I believe are the four most important skills that we need for every organization and for every person, for every entrepreneur, you name it. We should start teaching this in grade school, and we should continue to teach it and train it when we get into the career space. So the first skill is self-confidence. 83% of professionals say their number one challenge is self-confidence, right? So we learn how to be confident and competent in various areas, that that's the technical side of things, but nobody ever teaches us just to love ourselves. Nobody ever teaches us to have a growth mindset, to set healthy boundaries, to trust our intuition, to break perfectionist mindset so that we can actually take action versus procrastinating and feeling crippled. Nobody teaches you all of that stuff, and those are the things that actually hinder most people. So that's the first pillar. We have a full, robust programming around that. The second pillar is emotional intelligence, which actually is comprised of 18 soft skills. So most individuals, emotional intelligence is a buzzword to them, right? Like anything, after a while, things become a buzzword, but the understanding and the concept of emotional intelligence, very few people know and understand. So emotional intelligence has 18 soft skills underneath it that are really every challenge you see in today's workplace when it comes to people and the home and the community when it's people oriented falls under that bucket. So emotional awareness, accurate self-assessment, being internally motivated, growth mindset, optimism, stress management, emotional regulation, displaying empathy, active listening, nonverbal communication, verbal communication, written communication, coaching, mentoring, diversity, cultural awareness, situational awareness. I can name more, all fall under emotional and social intelligence.
Yeah.
So that's the second pillar. And then the last two are the hardest. The third one is transformational leadership. So instead of being a transactional leadership, which is what we see the majority of today, as a leader, do you have what you need? Do you feel supported? Do you feel safe? That's transactional versus moving your team up to the top level of Maslow's hierarchy, which is self actualization. So, being the leader that says, I'm here to create transformation and influence you positively, to see something in you that you don't see in yourself, and to spend my time as a leader to cultivate that in you because you are the next generation of leaders, not me.
Mm.
Tell me what leaders naturally think or do that. Most don't. Not because they don't want to, they just haven't learned the transformational leadership skills versus just being the everyday leader that's like, hey, did you do your job? What do you need help with? Is there anything that I can support? You see what I mean? And then
Hmm.
the last one is by far the hardest that I practice and use every day, and I know you do too, is influential communication. Every time we communicate, whether it's with our children, whether it's with the client, whether it's with a team member, we don't realize that there is an outcome. We do want an outcome. We want something to happen on the other side of that communication. And so, influential communication is being able to communicate in a way that creates movement with the people that are receiving your message to create win-win situations. So how do you influence? How do you get them to take action? How do you get them to have buy-in, to say yes to you as the business owner versus the other 10 that just pitched them? And so that is the highest level of soft skills that we teach. And those are the four that are the most important.
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there.
There's a ton.
The one thing I think the area that I really am interested in, Netta, because I experience it, is the emotional intelligence. I think that's really hard. The emotional side, you're a speaker. I am as well. And one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of times I can really emotionally just add value at a speaking event and then come home and got nothing left for the family.
Yeah.
And I think maybe professionals probably experience that as they emotionally navigating the switch, the when you get home and being emotionally present for your family, yourself, that kind of thing, as opposed to being emotionally present to a client or something like that. Do you find that's a commonality for professionals, just being able to manage the emotional, I guess the roller coaster ride when it comes to all facets of life? What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, it depends on the intensity and the dynamic of the role.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if you, let's say, are a C-suite leader that is dealing with lobbyists, stakeholders, your team, all in one day, that's going to be a lot more taxing than, let's say, being a singular leader that maybe has a team of five. And so
Mm-hmm.
there's a number of things that play into that emotional regulation and being able to like kind of decompress and re-energize before you step in with your family, let's say. And
Mm-hmm.
so there's a lot of tools that we can use for emotional intelligence that will allow that reset. Sometimes it's silence, sometimes it's creating a little bit of space for yourself. Sometimes it is letting your family know or whoever, the next meeting or whatever that you're going to, that you need maybe a little pause or a little break so that you can reset mentally, regulate the breath, so on and so forth. I know for
Mm-hmm.
me, like from a speaking standpoint, actually, I would say the most taxing for me is doing a training. So
Mm-hmm.
not speaking on stage, but doing an actual training with C-suite executives in a room for, let's say, 8 hours a day. So if I get called in to do an executive training with high level performers and I'm 8 hours in front facilitating the room, that is by far for me the most emotionally draining, where I really have to reset because
Mhm.
A, there's high performers in the room. So it's not a one-sided conversation, right? Any high performers, they're going to speak up, they're going to ask questions, they're going to challenge. They all have a different and unique personality. They jump in, they want to talk on top of each other. They're all very passionate. That's how they got to the C-suite place, right? And it's my job to navigate all of those energies, facilitate it in a productive way, be a teacher at the same time in whatever that I'm teaching. So all of those things are happening simultaneously.
Wow.
Typically in situations like that, I set myself up that afterwards I don't do anything. I'm like,
Oh yeah, I'm with you
I'll
on
tell
that.
my husband, all right, babe, I'm coming home. Let's Grubhub or have dinner ready. And then I'll probably just watch a Netflix, binge a Netflix, something to completely like, exhaust the mind in a different space.
I love that. I was just in, speaking of workshops, I just taught a 5 day workshop last week in Palo Alto,
Yeah.
and 8 hours a day, Monday through
Oh,
Friday. And I remember on Friday, I got a massage. I was like, man, I just, because of that tension that
oh
you
yeah.
hold and stuff. And it drains the heck out of you. And the week before that, I did a 3 day workshop in Utah, and they wanted to play golf that afternoon. I'm like, dude, I'm not going. They're like, you don't want to
Yeah.
play golf? I was like, no, man, I spent all day with you guys. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend another 4.5 hours with you after I spent 8 hours with you. You guys got to give me 1,000 breaks. So people that aren't on a speaking trail like you and I, they don't get it. And another thing, people always like, hey, what do you think about this place? Did you like tour the area? I'm like, no, I don't tour. I'm not there for
Like it's not
vacation.
vacation.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
like, after I get done, I'm gonna go visit the sites. I'm going
Yeah.
back to the room and relaxing. So I get that for sure. So I got a question. So you talk about closing the gap.
Yeah.
What would you say for someone who's listening right now and they feel stuck or overwhelmed? Because you threw out all these different pillars, like, and within one, there's 18 different skill sets. That could be overwhelming for someone who's already overwhelmed.
Sure.
So what would you say, what would be the first step someone could take today if they just want to even think about closing a gap? What would be the first step, Netta?
The very first step is going to go all the way back to the self-confidence, the first pillar, self-confidence, and it's gaining clarity without a lens of doubt. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Sitting down, most people don't do this, and I'm sure you can agree with this, Eric. Most people don't sit down and truly have a conversation with themselves on what are their top values that are non-negotiables, what does their ideal life look like, and how are they going to get there? Right? I also call it like your life's mission statement. All companies and organizations, they have a couple things, okay? They have a mission statement, they have a vision, they have a strategy for how they're going to get there. And then they typically have like a board of directors or a council that's going to help support them. I very much function that you need the same thing personally. So we got to ask ourselves, what is our life mission statement? What are you here for? And what do you want to accomplish in this lifetime? And getting clarity with that without doubt. And the reason why I say without doubt is because, oftentimes we'll work with our clients and they'll say, well, I would really love this, but I don't know if I'm ever going to get there. And it just seems like so unreachable. And so they start to sabotage their own vision before they even write the vision down. And so I just say, if nothing was in the way, if all possibilities were open, if there was, no lack of anything, what do you want for your life? How do you want to live it? How much money do you want to make? What kind of relationships do you want? How do you want to feel? And first thing is just write that out, write your life mission statement and write your ideal life down. That's the first thing.
Nice. Oh, do you have a template for that on how
I
to
do.
write your ideal? And so what's that look like? Is it like, different facets of your life, or how's the template walk you through that?
So the life mission statement should be all encompassing because life is not just your career. It's not just money, right? It's all of the above. So
Hmm.
I always say that my life's mission statement is to help individuals become their best self and elevate the human condition while maintaining my health, maintaining my family, maintaining my faith, and financially having abundance and freedom. So
Okay.
like That's my mission is I
Mhm.
want to make an impact in the world and helping people push their potential. And these are the things that are also super important for me that I will not compromise.
Okay. So someone writes a vision like or a mission down like that. What is a daily, how do you break something down in a daily habit? So is there something that you would say when you work with your clients, if they're, and I know I'm kind of oversimplifying this,
Yeah.
but for the audience in they're used to me just giving like little tidbits of actionable things.
Yep.
So if I said, okay, I want to do that. I want to write down my ideal life. Now
Yep.
what? What happens on Monday? What would be a daily habit that you would recommend that would help get me moving towards that ideal life?
Okay. So the next thing though is that you got to write down your non-negotiables.
Okay.
Okay. So I use a 5 step framework. Okay. So let's say you write down your ideal life. Okay. The next step is what is it exactly? Okay.
Hmm.
So the what is the specificity. So for example, if you say, let's say something is like financial abundance. Well, what does that mean? It is financial abundance. By the time I'm 65, I'm able to retire. I have $10 million savings in the account. It has to be specific and be a SMART goal. Okay.
Hmm.
So the next step is what is it? The second step is why does it matter and what's the relevance of it for you? If your why is not deep, it's you won't hit it. You won't achieve it. So the why has to be deep and you have to understand your why. I have a lot of people that say, I want to make $1 million a year. I'm like, well, why? Well, I don't know. It sounds like a good number. I'm like, that's irrelevant. Like, why $1 million? Why not 500,000? Why not 10 million? So really understanding your why behind what you want. Okay. The third step is the most important. It's how you're going to get there, right? Even if
Okay.
you take one step at a time, how are you going to get there? And the last two steps are often forgotten in this roadmap of life, which is who's going to help you get there and what do you have to say no thank you to in order to accomplish it? Because many individuals, and I actually just heard this in a different terminology, signal versus noise, which is something that I think is going viral right now because of an episode that Kevin O'Leary did where he talks about Steve Jobs. And I,
Hmm.
I call it no thank you, which is the signal is the thing that gets you closer to the goal, and the noise is the thing that distracts you. And so in our model, we say, what do you have to say no thank you to, which is basically the noise. What are the
Hmm.
things that you have to say no to that are going to take you away from the vision and the life that you want to create? Sometimes it's
Hmm.
people, it's friends, it's family, it's email, it's bad behaviors like drinking, drugs. I mean, sometimes it's sitting in your email all day. I mean, you got to ask yourself, what are the things that distract you the most that you have to build positive habits around saying no to?
Yeah, I think that's probably the hardest thing for most people, that last one,
Yeah.
saying no. It's hard to say no to things, especially when you're a mom, right? You're a CEO, you're a performer, those kind of things. And just start saying no to that. In fact, the episode I did right before this episode you're doing with me, it was it's okay to let go.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's hard for people to let go to focus on what's really real. I remember for me, when I was wanting to become a professional speaker, my coach was Michael Hyatt. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's a New York Times bestseller, really good dude. And I remember he was coaching me to leave my day job. And I was really holding on to it, Netta, because I thought, man, I needed that day job, the stability and things like that. And he goes, man, if you just let go of your day job, it's you'll be amazed of how this opens up your life.
Yeah.
And he was right. When I said no to the 60-hour day job, my speaking business went to the roof. But I needed someone to really push me and to learn to say no. One of the things I do with my clients, I'm curious with yours, is I teach them really just to focus every day on their big three and the three most important things they want to get done that day and get really maniacal about those big three. And also what I found
That's the
is,
signal. That's
yeah,
the
there you
signal.
go. There you go, the
Yeah.
signal. And what I've learned with clients is they try to claim it and they try to game it where they're like, okay, this is the big three for my personal life, the big three for my work life, the big
Yep.
three for my family. And then at the end of it, they got 27 things. It's hard
Exactly.
for them to get down to the three most important things. Have you found that as well?
It depends, right? I mean, but you're absolutely right, and I'm laughing because like I do this for myself, right? So everything I teach, I have, and if you see up top, you'll see one, two, three,
Yeah, there you go.
right?
There's There's a
That's
reason that everybody coaches that. There's a reason for that.
that's the three. And if you get more done, awesome. But hell or high water, excuse my language, these three things are going to get done today. And when you're able to commit to that focus, then you're getting step by step closer to your dreams and goals. But I just want to take a step back, Eric, because when you were talking about people being able to say no, that's the self-confidence, and that's why it's in
Mhm.
that first pillar. Because a lot of times we have a hard time saying no or setting healthy boundaries because of the what if they don't like me, what if I fail, what if this happens, and we start to create these limiting beliefs and this narrative that takes us further back from our best and most progressive self. And
Mm.
so that's why self confidence is really the first and most important pillar, because when you're able to say, hey, this might not be perfect, I might fail in the beginning, I might struggle, but I believe in myself, I'm going to bet on myself, and I believe that I can figure it out no matter what. Then you're able to take different action, more massive action in your life, and then have the courage to live the dreams that you want.
Hmm. Yeah, I think having that ideal life, writing that down is key. I'm a big proponent of that. I think something magical happens when you write it down. Do you recommend writing it physically, like writing it with a pen, or does it matter to you?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I have the daily planner. Some
Yeah.
people are like, oh, I just put it in my phone. I'm like, well, I do that too, but there's something different.
Yeah.
Write it, and then when you check it off, and you're like, yes, I did this today.
Yeah.
And so there is something different about writing your life mission statement, writing your action plan, writing your three rocks or your
Hmm.
three signal for the day. It creates something different when you write it down and also when you cross it off.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let me ask you this about human skills, because you talk about these are the street smarts, the soft skills. How do you think we navigate that in a world that's starting to get really dominated by technology and AI? And how do you believe these skills are more critical than ever for leaders? And I think it's often overlooked now because it seems like AI is the big trend. How can I AI this? What do you think human skills fits in all this, and how do you work with your clients on that?
I am telling you right now, and I am a firm believer that the most successful people and the most competitive people in the face of AI are going to be the ones that have soft skills,
Yeah.
because artificial intelligence is going to take over a number of technical aspects, but you will always need the brain, the relationships, the influence behind the AI to drive the AI, right? And so
Hmm.
those are going to be the people that instead of using ChatGPT to write their book,
Hmm.
they're using ChatGPT to say, here's my book that I just wrote. Can you tell me the top five bestsellers in this industry? How does it compare? Is there anything
Mm.
strategic you think I can add? You see, it's a different level of thinking with artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people ask me, are you afraid of, your company, for example, and the future of your company and your team with artificial intelligence? And I say, actually, I'm very positive, because I see now that there's more of a need now more than ever with the human aspects. Otherwise, yeah, your job will be given to a robot. And the question is how are you going to stand out from that?
Hmm. Yeah. I'm curious, Netta, because you come from a musical theater background. So were you like a professional in that, or what was your background? You said you're a
Yeah,
performer.
my first career, I was a performer. I toured the world internationally and I did musical theater and various tours.
Hmm.
And then through performing, I had like a number of epiphanies and realizations. The
Hmm.
first is exactly what I'm talking about is I realized super fast, Eric, that my voice and my ability to sing and dance was not going to get me on a tour bus of 40 people. The first time I joined the performing organization, there was 500 people in the room. And one
Mm.
by one, we all got up and sang and danced. And I remember sitting on the floor watching other performers and thinking, oh my gosh, everyone is flipping amazing. But there's only 40 seats. Ah, like the math doesn't add up. So who are they going to choose and how are they going to choose them, because everybody's belting and singing opera and class. I mean, everyone was phenomenal. That's when I realized that my technical skill is really irrelevant. It's not enough. It's not enough. Right. So that was like the first epiphany. And then the second epiphany I had is that when I was performing all over the world, realizing that the thing that made me good, I ended up being one of the best performers in the world for like seven, or one of the best performers in the group for 7 years straight, not because of my singing, but because I realized that it was all about the emotional connection between me and the people that were sitting in the audience. And I mean, I performed in Russia, I performed in Japan, they didn't speak English. So I recognize that, okay, there's something deeper here. How do I move the audience or empower the audience when they can't even understand my words?
Mm,
And through that journey, I recognized that what I really loved doing was empowering and teaching and creating connection. And
mm,
so quickly after being a performer, I came back to the States and I became an executive of an education corporation. I did my master's degree in executive leadership. And in the evening, I was a professor for a community college
mm,
where I started by teaching like performance skills and singing and dancing. And I very quickly transferred to teaching soft skills because every year more and more students would come into the college. They were afraid to raise their hand. They would rather take an F than ask a question. So I went to the college and I said, we need a life skills or a soft skills course. I'll build it, I'll create the content, and I'll start teaching it. And that's what I did.
yeah. Wow. That's awesome. That's awesome. This has been great so far, Netta. You've given us a lot of things to think about. I love the fact writing down your mission statement. I love the fact that you got to answer those questions. What is it? Why? How? Who? And learn to say no. I like the signal versus noise. I think I've seen that video, which is fantastic. And the self confidence thing. That's amazing to me. 83% of the people are not confident. Why do you think that is? Is it just the way we're taught? I mean, why do you think 8 out of 10 people lack confidence?
It's the way that I'm a firm believer it's the way that we talk. I did a TED talk on this as well. So what happens is that we go our whole life building what I call micro level confidence. And I talk about this in my book, Rise Up For You. So
Mm-hmm.
micro level confidence is also known as just confidence. We learn
Mm-hmm.
how to build confidence in things, confidence in skills, confidence
Mm-hmm.
in categories and techniques. I'm confident as a singer, I'm confident as a speaker. All those are skill based, right? But
Mm-hmm.
the problem with that is that those things inevitably can and will change because they exist outside of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like you said, artificial intelligence is coming. So, a lot of us are confident in skills that might not be needed in 10 years from now. Nobody ever teaches us, though, to build what I call macro level confidence, which is self confidence, which is your ability to take action, okay, despite what's going on in the mind, which is a growth mindset, which is an understanding that failure is research to success, which is an understanding that perfectionism prevents you from your potential. Nobody teaches you those things. Nobody teaches you that if you fail and if you fall, that that's not your identity, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not who you are. On top of that, many of us are born into families that have parents or teachers or mentors that also struggle with self confidence that then project their beliefs onto you. And so many of us are 30, 40, 50, 60 years old. We're walking around with a lens of limiting beliefs that don't belong to us. They were put on to us by other people. The teacher that said, you're not enough. The parent that said, you can't do that, right? The ex-boyfriend or girlfriend that said, you're just not my type, you're not my size, you're not enough for what I need. And all those things start to compile in our mind. And because we're never taught the tools to like regulate that and push that away, we start to believe that. And now many of us subconsciously are walking around in the world, we're leading in the world, we're running businesses in the world with that lens of limitation, and it's hindering our success and ability to get to the next level.
Wow, that's crazy. I love that. And I think what I've discovered, Netta, I actually train professional speakers too, and I've learned that a lot of them believe in systems and they believe it'll work, but they don't believe it'll work for them. It's amazing where I have a professional speaker will come to me and they're like, Eric, I actually got booked and paid to speak. And they sound surprised. And that's when I realized the system's not the problem. It's they're the issue. And what I've also learned, and you tell me what you think of this. Most people, when I interact with them, they have theoretical problems that never happened. They create these problems in their head and it's never happened. My mom was an entrepreneur. She was in a multi-level marketing company called Home Interiors and Gifts. This is back in the 80s, and she
Yeah.
was top 10 in the country. She was really good. And she taught me something that always stuck with me. She said 98% of the stuff that you feel like is going to go wrong never go wrong. And the 2% that does, there's nothing you can do about it anyway. So get on with it. So we create 90% of we create all these problems. And so when a speaker comes to me and gives me these what ifs, I'm like, well, how about let's go out and do it and see if it actually happens. And then we'll work through that. So that was one. What are your thoughts on that? Do you hear that a lot too when you're working with clients?
I do, and I completely agree with you. I always say it takes just as much energy to stress about the thing that may or might not happen
Mm-hmm.
than it does to take action to prevent it from happening, right? It's
Yeah.
the same amount of energy. So, there was a time when I first started building this company, and there was a time in my life where I was at my lowest point and I had like $100 in my account. I was buying my groceries from the 99-cent store.
Wow.
And I remember sitting with myself and saying, okay, I could either stress about the situation and about the future, or I can use that same ball of energy and take action and move forward and build. And I constantly talk to myself that way. And it's the same thing that we teach our clients is that many times when you stress about the past and when you stress about the future, you piss on the present, which is like what is happening right now. And so I think it's really important. That's part of that emotional regulation is to remind ourselves that it's okay to potentially foresee what could happen, but you don't want to live in that state of stress. You want to live in a state of action and prevention.
Nice. That's awesome. This has been great, Netta.
You
Before I go into my last portion, I like to do a quick Q&A with you.
know?
Where does someone go if they're listening to this and like, I like her energy, I like her vibe. Where would you want them to go to get more information?
Yeah, you can definitely go to riseup4you.com. That's the company that I founded. And there's a ton of free resources there. You can click on the free tab button, and there's a free confidence quiz, a free emotional intelligence quiz. There's master classes. And then you can also connect with me, Nada Lena Nasserdeen, on Instagram and LinkedIn. I run my own social media. So if you say hi or send me a message, it will not be a bot or an assistant. It will be me that responds.
That's
So
impressive.
those
Can
are
I
the
hire you to do my social media too?
Not today, Eric.
All right, I got some quick one line questions for you. So I just want to get your initial reaction. I always like
Okay.
to do this at the end. It's always kind of fun.
Okay.
So where you speak a lot, you're international.
Yeah.
Where's your favorite area to speak? When you go there, you just enjoy the vibe. You like going to speak in this area. Where would you say you love going to speak?
I love speaking in Las Vegas and Dubai.
Okay. Now, do you live in Las Vegas? Do you have a home in Las Vegas, or you
I
just go
do.
there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I
All
mean, I
right.
go back and forth now because, my husband we're in Edmonton, but yes,
Okay.
I still have my homes in Vegas and my community. Yes.
All
Mhm.
right. Why Las Vegas and Dubai? What is it about those places you like so
Um,
much?
a little bit different, but predominantly both Las Vegas and Dubai. As you know, they attract a lot of tourism. So there's a lot of conferences, there's a lot of different energies there. But a lot of people don't know that Las Vegas and Dubai are also very entrepreneurial. So
Mm,
there is an energy there that's also humble. There's an energy there that's also humble that's really exciting to play off of when you speak as well. So I just
yeah.
enjoy the audiences.
Yeah, I like going to where I just was last week in San Jose, Santa Clara area, just because
Yeah,
it's got all the companies that basically run our lives are right there.
are there. Yeah.
I was driving down the road. I was like, oh, there's Roku, there's Apple, there's Google, there's
Yeah.
OpenAI. They're all there. It's
Yeah.
freaking crazy. Now on Vegas, I'm just curious because most people they just know the strip. So
Yeah.
with that in mind, what's your favorite hotel? Like if you want to stay at a hotel, which one is your favorite in Vegas?
Oh, that's a really good question. I really like the Win.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love the Win. And I also like the Cosmopolitan specifically because of the balcony.
Oh
So
yeah.
a lot of people don't know that many, many years ago, Las Vegas got rid of all balconies on their hotels because people would gamble away their money and then commit suicide. Right?
Oh
They
my
would jump off
gosh,
the
that's
hotel balcony.
dark.
Yes. So if you notice the next time you go to Las Vegas, the hotels don't have balconies, right? They're just the window. Cosmopolitan was initially built not necessarily to be a hotel, but to be more of like a condo series. And so it has balconies, and then it became a
Mm,
hotel. So I like staying there because of the balconies. But now I have property there. I don't stay on the strip. Most people that are local to Las Vegas, they go to the strip maybe once or twice a month.
Yeah, it's kind of like New York City. Nobody goes to Times Square if
Yeah.
you live there. So what's the best restaurant in Vegas? I love food. So if I wanted to go to a restaurant in Vegas that you say, man, this is where you got to go. Where do you go? What's your go-to restaurant?
Okay, I love STK in Cosmopolitan, but I'm gonna have to give a shout out to Barry's Prime.
Ooh, is
Barry's
that prime rib?
Barry's Prime restaurant is phenomenal. It's a little bit off the strip. It's more in the Fremont area in a
Mhm.
hotel called Circa. And that, I mean, that restaurant hands down. Every time, I make reservations there all the time. So Barry's Prime, shout out
All
to you.
right. All right, we'll check that out. Let's check that out. You have a travel nightmare story, something like, oh my gosh, you can't make this stuff up.
Oh, that's a good question. Not that I could think of right off the bat. No, not that I could think of off the bat. Thankfully, I have had pretty good travel situations, knock on
Hmm.
wood. I mean, I've had scary travel situations where turbulence was out of control and the captain screaming and everybody.
Oh my gosh. That's every time I fly into Denver. I don't know why.
That
Denver's
was
always
Denver.
bumping. Yeah.
It was Denver. And I remember thinking I've flown all over the world and I'm here nationally in Denver. And I remember, Eric, I had like three entrees because I had a connecting flight.
Yeah.
And I remember being like, you got to get on this flight. You can't be scared to get on it. And I went into a restaurant for my layover and I ordered like three entrees. I was like, I want the steak because I was so stressed. I wanted to eat my feelings away.
Oh yeah, I get that. I get that. Whenever I go to Denver, I got to brace myself. All
Yeah.
right, you like Netflix? What's your favorite show? What's your binge worthy show you're watching right now?
Yeah, the Netflix, I love all of the reality TV to tell you the truth. So I
Uh-huh.
am obsessed with like Dubai Bling and Selling Sunset.
I didn't even know Dubai Billion was a thing.
Oh, it's so good. Dubai Bling, Love is Blind. I really
Oh,
like the real estate shows like Selling Sunset that that they do in California. So all of those shows I binge watch. I could watch them, instantly.
that's awesome. And they're like quick hits too. And you can
Yeah,
watch it and yeah, I love that. Now, my wife and I have watched Love is Blind. And what's amazing to me is how many of them get married and actually stay married. So there's something to that, where you get that connection with someone emotionally before you see them.
yeah,
That's pretty interesting. I told my wife we should watch that show sometime and actually not like just listen to it and don't. So we actually like can do it blind too, so we don't
yeah.
get to see what they
Oh,
look like.
that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So, what was some of these shows you were in, musical theater wise? What were some of the actual shows that you were in?
Yeah, so I did South Pacific, if anybody is familiar with that. And then a lot
Uh-huh.
of my shows that I did were variety musical theater shows. And so it was like pieces of the musical theater within the show.
Oh
So I
yeah.
would do Wicked, I would do Lion King, Motown, that kind of stuff.
What was your favorite show to
Lion
be in?
King, Lion
Oh
King.
yeah. Wow, you
Yeah,
didn't even let me finish. So you love that one.
Lion King. I love it. I love it. And I just saw the Lion King Broadway musical here in Canada. And so I love the music.
Yeah. What was your role in Lion King?
I was Nala.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, that's fantastic. That is
Yeah.
awesome. That is cool. So I did musical theater when I was growing up. I wasn't a professional like you, but I was in South Pacific
Okay, cool.
when I was a kid, and I was the one of the kids
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the family, and that was fun. I really enjoyed. It's really cool because you become really close with the
yeah,
cast, and
yeah.
it's almost emotional when your last performance, which
Absolutely.
is that's great. That's awesome. My sister was a professional dancer, and she danced all over the world. And I remember her first audition. I didn't go because I was too young at the time, but my dad took her, and she was a phenomenal dancer, Netta, but she didn't know singing was going to be part of it. And so she
Ab-
was ready to go.
yeah.
And so she did her audition, and they said, "Okay, what song do you have prepared?" I was like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "Well, do you have a song?" And she panicked. She went to my dad and said, "What do I sing?" And he goes, he didn't know what to. So he said, "Well, sing Happy Birthday." So she got up there and sang Happy Birthday to herself.
Aw.
So she didn't get the gig, so she had to get a voice coach to learn how to be a singer. But she was a
Yeah.
dancer, and she would lip sync all the singing because she
Yes.
she
Yeah.
wasn't like you, the main character. She was always dancing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I remember going to visit her, going to these performances, and she would take me backstage, and this energy backstage with all the performers was awesome. They were so edifying and supportive. And this is back in the 80s when breakdancing was big. And so I was trying
Oh
to be a
yeah.
I was like 9 years old. I was breakdancing, and so my sister would have me breakdance for everybody, and they would clap, and they were like, "You
Yes,
go!" And it was so
yes.
edifying. It was really cool.
It's a show in itself. Backstage is a show in itself.
Oh yeah. So yeah, you know that for sure. And
Yeah,
when you go to a show like in Las Vegas, you can appreciate when you watch a show, you know what's going on and what they're going through to
for
that.
sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Do
It's
you
also a
prefer?
double-edged sword, though, too. I don't know if you deal with this, Eric, even from a speaker standpoint,
Yeah.
that when you're in an industry or you were in an industry and then you go to see something in that industry, I have a hard time turning off the critic. That's like,
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't
I
have done
can't.
that. Why did they sing that? No, like you're afraid.
Oh,
That's
I'm for sure.
crazy.
When it comes to speaking, I can't listen to a keynote because I'm like I would have done that better. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
done it that way, or that was interesting. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Do you prefer Broadway shows or do you prefer a show on the Strip in Vegas?
That's a really good question. I really like I like musicals for sure, but I also
Mhm.
really appreciate Cirque. So
Oh
the
yeah,
shows that I like on in Vegas are the Cirque shows
yeah,
because I mean the talent, the talent it takes to do something like that is and just impeccable.
yeah.
And there's no shows like Vegas, because they have so
Oh
much
yeah,
money and the budget and stuff that they do. So I like both of them.
yeah. Knocks your socks off. Have you been to the Sphere yet?
I have.
I have not. What show did you see there?
I just saw it was the local postcard. It wasn't like a band or anything. So
Yeah,
when they first opened the Sphere, they had U2, and then
yeah.
in between U2, they had it was like this documentary called The Postcard, and it was
Okay.
about like the start of Earth and the first two human beings. And so it was, obviously it was 360, and then there was shaking, and there was like hydraulics and stuff with the seats. It was pretty cool. Yeah.
The kind of performers I like, and I don't know why, but I love impersonators. I think that's unbelievable skill. And there was a
It
show in
is.
Vegas with Danny Gans. Did you ever see Danny Gans?
I haven't, but it is an amazing skill, especially vocally. There's an appreciation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't watch Danny Gans and he did singing per person and he would do like Billy Joel, Michael Jackson. It was unfreaking believable. Like, how can you transform like that? It's crazy. Is there a particular show, like a Broadway show, that you think is underrated? That it is like, you got to go see this show. It is way better than, it's kind of an underrated show.
That's a good question. Not that I can think of. The show that I really, really enjoyed is the same show that everybody else raved about, and that was Hamilton. That was
Oh,
by
yeah.
far the best show I have ever seen
Why is that?
because every single emotion I could possibly feel, I felt in that show.
Wow.
I cried, I laughed, I was like energetic, like every piece of it, I felt it was like a journey emotionally. Even now, when I listen to the music, it's by far the best show I've seen.
Wow. So you recommend going to see that on Broadway?
For sure, for sure.
Yeah. I went and saw back in the 90s. I was in college. Maybe it's just my age, but I saw Phantom of the Opera and I was not impressed. I'm
Yes,
like, what? I don't know what the big deal is about this show. But then I
yes.
saw Wicked and I loved Wicked. That
It
was
was
fantastic.
amazing.
But I want to check out Hamilton then based on your recommendation. I'm going to check that out. Well, hey, this has been life-giving, Netta. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to hang out with us. And
Absolutely.
hopefully I'll see you out on the speaking trail. That'd be
I would
fantastic.
love that. Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Well, hey, you have a good one. Thank you so much for being with us.
Absolutely. Thank you.